right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Craveology. So, cravings are a topic that's near and dear to my heart, and I'm really excited that we've created this research and we've created this work and that I'm able to share it with people like you. So a little bit about me and Sterling Rice Group. So Sterling Rice is an agency up in Boulder. We have a kick-ass culinary team. We do a lot of food service work, so I'm really happy to be here today. I would say that it's a culture of possibility and curiosity. At SRG, a couple years ago, our CEO sent out an all-email requesting for ideas of different things we should research, different points of view we could develop. What could it be? And very quickly, I had this idea, and I shot off an email to Cindy, and I said, hey, Cindy, wouldn't it be great if we could put together a piece of research to explain why people crave what they do, right? And so I sent off the email, and for about 90 seconds, I felt kind of smug and very proud of my idea. And then 90 seconds later, I kind of got this sinking, it's like an oh shit feeling, right? Because I knew that it was a really good idea, and she was probably going to pick it, and then it would be up to me to figure all this out. And it seemed like a very big, hairy problem to figure out why we crave what we do. It's a very random thing, right? So, she did pick my idea. And so I had to figure it out. We conducted research, and that's what I'll be sharing with you today. So, what is a craving, and why do we crave what we do? Why do we crave the melty, soft crunch of a Hershey s'more over a Rocky Mountain campfire? What about those nights when you're just craving the crisp, cool sheets on your bed at the end of a long summer day? Why do some of us crave that twisting pinch of adrenaline that comes from riding a roller coaster at Six Flags, while others do not? All right. What about those nights, late at night, you find yourself pulled out of bed to succumb to that pint of damn Talenti you have hidden in the back of the freezer where your roommates can't find it? Why do we crave that? What's going on? What about those days you would give anything for just a bite of your grandma's apple pie? Or a simple hug, right? These are the cravings, and these are the types of things that we wanted to understand. So, being like any self-respecting millennial researcher, marketing, advertising type guy, I started with the dictionary, very original, right? I thought maybe Webster's has the answer, and then I won't have to work so hard. So, Webster's defines a craving as an intense, urgent, or abnormal desire or longing. Thanks, Webster, very helpful. If I'm designing a new restaurant, a new menu, and I need to figure out how do I make this craveable, this is not very helpful, right? So I said, okay, next, what else can I do? And they said, aha, the people in the white coats, perhaps they have the answers in their laboratories. It turns out that there are decades and decades and decades of research in dopamines, reward center, pleasure center, the brain, and chemicals, and all of this stuff. And I kept digging and digging and digging and reading, and I thought, okay, if I read one more of these books, I'm going to figure it out. If I read one more white paper, I'm going to figure this out, right? And I kept reading and reading, and I just kept getting more and more frustrated. And I realized this is just as helpful as Webster's, right? I can't build a craveable anything based on this research. So I took a step back, and in true SRG fashion, we decided to start with consumers. So what this eventually took form as was an international food diary study. So what we did is we had people from 3 different countries keep a digital diary across the span of a week. So we were talking to people in the United States, people in the United Kingdom, and also English-speaking respondents in India. And what we asked them to do is every single time you experience a craving, open up this app and take a short video. Describe to us what are you craving in this moment, but also what's the context? What's going on in your life? How are you feeling? What's going on? And just explain it to us a little bit. Put us in your shoes, help us understand. And as these responses started to come in from across the world, we started to see patterns. We started to see things, and it really started to converge and made this framework that I'll be showing you today, or at least some of it. So here's what we found. Bear with me. Nerd alert coming up here. Like molecules in suspension, we humans are constantly buffeted by the external forces from the environments in which we participate. We live in a world of action and reaction, and I think we can all think of the times when we're buffeted by the external forces that influence us. I, for one, think of those mornings when I decide to wear suede shoes without checking the weather. And of course, what happens on those mornings when you wear suede shoes without checking the weather? It rains, right? Or it snows if you're in Boulder and it's October. Well, unlike those molecules, we humans assign a meaning to that buffeting, right? And we select a response that theoretically is going to realign us back to our own unique center where we want to be. So the thesis of all of this work is that cravings continually pull us out of balance. Or life pulls us out of balance, excuse me. And cravings are the mind and body's attempt to bring us back to center, right? It's our subconscious imbalance causing a conscious reaction, right? I'm imbalanced in some way that maybe I don't realize, but my body and my mind react in a way that's very conscious and encourages me to take action that theoretically is going to bring me back to my center where I want to be, okay? So cravings, this is the anatomy of a craving. This is what we came up with here. So at the bottom of this pyramid, we have the sensorial. For any food to be craveable, of course it has to be delicious. You all are food experts, you're executive chefs, you're restaurant owners, you all know food. I'm not gonna stand here and tell you what mouthfeel or how acidic something should be or what's the latest spice. Like, you guys know food. I won't be talking about that today. What I will be talking about is the top half of this pyramid. This is the emotional payoff. This is the emotional side of a craving. So a craving is made of when somebody can associate this sensorial experience, it's very pleasurable, paired very tightly with an emotional payoff. If those two are intertwined enough into a single experience, the brain registers that as one thing. And so whenever somebody is experiencing an imbalance, the brain will say, crave, go do this. Go have this sensorial experience. It's going to give you this emotional payoff. It's all packaged tightly into one thing in the human brain, and we can't really detangle them, right? So if I'm craving a donut, yes, I want something delicious, chewy, sweet, maybe a little bit crunchy, but there's an emotional side to it. And that's what I'm going to be kind of drawing the curtain back on today, explaining that emotional side. So through our research, we talk to these people who have these imbalances, right? Life throws them out of balance. And what we found is that there's about 5 spectra here, 5 spectra on which these imbalances occur. So those are physiological state, energy state, social engagement, structure of reality, and cultural affiliation. Right? So these operate a lot like temperature. They're constantly variable, and we're all sliding up and down these depending on the experience that we're having in our own reality. So if you think about temperature, I have a preferred temperature. Maybe I like it a little bit colder, 68 degrees. My friend might like it a little bit warmer, right, 72. We can both be experiencing the exact same reality, but I may be very comfortable, and she may be feeling cold, right? So we all have our own preferences across each of these spectra today. I unfortunately don't have time to go into all 5 of these, but I'm going to dive into in depth the last 2, structure of reality and cultural affiliation, because I think they're the most interesting and they are very relevant to food, and I'll try to give an overview of the other 3 if we have time. So the first one I want to talk about is structure of reality. Structure of reality is all about our reliability, our dependability, and the safety that we feel within our own personal realities, right? So each of these spectra have 2 poles. On one side, we have rules and routine, and on the other side, we have something I'm sure none of us are even remotely familiar with, chaos, right? So rules and routine. Think about somebody who wakes up at the exact same time every morning. They have their oatmeals and blueberries and almonds. They go to work at the exact same time. They have these tasks that they run through. It's all very orderly and routine. They're back home having dinner at 5:30, and they're neatly to bed at 9:30 p.m., right? Some people have a very high preference for rules and routine, like maybe the accountants in your life, like my sister. Other people have a higher preference for chaos, right? So if we become imbalanced a little bit too much towards this rules and routine, we become susceptible to cravings with an emotional payoff that shifts us more towards chaos. Things that are invigorating, things that are mysterious, intriguing, unexpected, even dangerous, right? In our study, people even talked about craving skydiving whenever they were feeling a little bit too much into this rules and routine space. On the other end of the spectrum, perhaps you're feeling like you're imbalanced towards chaos, right? Maybe you're potty training a toddler, maybe you're remodeling your house, maybe you're having a really hard time at work. There's lots of things that pull us into a sense of chaos. And in those moments, we become susceptible to cravings for things that simplify our reality, give us a sense of control, and overall give us a sense of comfort. So I'm going to show you a couple examples of how this can come to life. So whenever we're in a space of chaos, one of the QSR brands, across all of my research, all of my years studying QSR, time and again the focus groups will tell you the number one most craveable QSR brand is Chick-fil-A. And yes, they have that delicious chicken, and they figured out the fries. They got a really good sauce program. The food's delicious, but what makes Chick-fil-A truly craveable is their consistency of execution. We've all been talking about this for years, but think about the pair from the sensorial benefit and then that emotional payoff together makes something truly craveable. So no matter how complicated, no matter how stressful your day is, if you go to Chick-fil-A, like 20 minutes of my life, I know how this is gonna go, right? I'm gonna be treated well, the food's gonna be hot and delicious, the environment's going to be clean, and I'm going to feel comfortable, right? That's a chaos type of a craving to pull us back more towards this feeling of rules and routine. On the other side, perhaps we're feeling a little bit too much into this rules and routine, right? We're bored, things are feeling a little bit routine, we're feeling kind of restricted. There's these really beautiful, opulent tiki bars that are popping up. So this is a picture from a place in Chicago called 3 Dots and a Dash. I don't know if some of you are familiar with it, but they have this really awesome experience where you go down this set of stairs, these like blue skulls staring you down as you go down, and it's really just so transformational. It's mysterious, it's opulent, and the way that they serve up their cocktails are really truly interesting, right? Do you see how that would pull somebody more into like a sense of at least spontaneousness or spontaneity or it's just that mystique, right? It's really cool. Anything but every day. All right, the second spectrum I want to talk about today is about cultural affiliation. So this is all about my sameness relative to the people around me. Some really powerful cravings come from this. So like me craving my mom's peach cobbler, this comes from cultural affiliation type imbalances. So this one also has two poles, right? We have hyperhomogeneity on one side, and on the other side we have disassociation. Hyperhomogeneity is pretty easy to understand. Just imagine a world where everybody is exactly like you, you fit in perfectly, you're not really unique in any way, and everybody's really similar, has a similar mindset, likes to do the same things. On the other side of the spectrum, disassociation, the most simple way to describe this is homesickness. I have a friend who came to the United States from Brazil to start a new life. He left everything behind. He left the food, his family, his dog, holidays, even the language, right? That's a very extreme case of disassociation, but we all can feel disassociated from our roots from time to time, right? And these types of imbalances also can trigger cravings. So a couple food service examples on these. For the hyperhomogeneity, we've all seen this rise of restrictive eating and sense of identity through food and exercise, right? I am gluten-free, I am dairy-free, I do CrossFit, I do triathlons, right? We're all constantly grappling to find some individual identifier of ourselves to create difference from those around us. A restaurant player that does this really well, I know we've been talking about Flower Child for years now, but they do a really great job of making really healthy food that caters to those types of restrictions, but also making it a really delicious, fun, and emotionally resonant experience. Flower Child, very, very craveable. On the other side, perhaps something a little bit more lowbrow, Cinnabon. So Cinnabon got started in mall food courts. If you interview people who love Cinnabon, they'll talk about, years ago when they were a teenager, they remember sitting down with their friends and having a Cinnabon and just feeling that sense of relationship. And while the future of malls is a little bit in question, that emotional attachment to the Cinnabon brand endures, and we even see it in grocery today. Very craveable. So these are the 5 spectra that demonstrate the different types of emotional balances that can make us crave. The other 3 that I didn't get to cover, physiological state, that's a very old school one. Like if you're craving a burger, maybe you need some iron. This can also be temperature, it can be sight, smell, it can be environmental as well. Energy state is all about our emotional and our physical energy levels, the tempo of our daily lives. It can also encompass like boredom or overexertion, and also like emotional distress is a really resonant one here as well. And then lastly, social engagement is all about, how close in proximity are we to people? If you think about introvert versus extrovert, that's a really great way to think about this, the social engagement spectrum. Anyway, that's Craveology. I'm just about out of time, but I just wanted to say thank you so much for the opportunity to present this great work. If you found yourself inspired, if the gears are turning, feel free to send me an email. It's just tcunningham@srg.com. I'd love to share the rest of this presentation with you, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much.